Alright guys, PR3 missions. I did one of these last time for PR2. I'm going to do it again, but for PR3. It didn't change too much, everything's about the same, but a little bit different stuff this time around. So, disclaimer alert, and to make sure people know what to watch, this is not a guide about EXP, and this is not a guide about how to farm for PR3 ships. So if you guys are struggling with 3 million EXP, this is not the right guide for you. Just go ahead, keep grinding, and come back when you guys are ready. Also, this is not a guide for unlocking ships because that can be done in the distant future. And just because you can't unlock a ship, say you can't grind for Mains or Odin because you don't have the KMS Fleet Tech points for that, doesn't mean you can't get the prints for them. You can still farm for them. So just because you can't farm for them doesn't mean you should avoid doing the methods that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Alright, let's begin this. So for the people that want to play however you want, meaning I'm going to go for Monarch, then I'm going to go for FDG, then I'm going to go for Georgia, then I'm going to go for Mains, so you can go from like 1 or 2 or 3 from each season. This guide might not help you because you're probably going to play however you want. You're going to aim for specific prints for those specific characters. You're going to be jumping around a lot for PR missions. So I advise finish one season first, then go to another one is a lot better. So if you're going to hop around seasons a lot for prints, don't do that. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Alright, now we can begin the real thing. So the people that are aiming for progression or all developer 30 ships, I advise here's how you should do it. All players as of right now should be doing PR3 first for Research Academy missions. Then PR1 should be second, followed by PR2 should be the last season you work on, given that you have enough time to finish Developer 30 on PR3, Developer 30 on PR1, and then you can work on the last one. But that's probably not enough time, so I'll explain later on what you can do. So this strategy that I designed for the order that you should take is aimed towards maximizing PR catch-up, medal exchange, and event universal BPs. So by doing PR3 first, you are maximizing exterior blueprints incomes that can be acquired from, or that can be used on prior seasons like PR1 and PR2. Because PR3 is the only season as of right now where you cannot get it from medal exchanges or catch up. It's only from event BPs or Research Academy. So, by capping out PR3 early, meaning all developer 30 ships including Drake is done, you can go back to PR1 after with a nice buffer and a head start towards finishing that season. Because by the time you finish developer 30 on all PR3 ships, you're done with the 300 print catch-up mechanic for PR1. You probably have a few months of medal exchange PR1 prints as well that you can toss in there to give you a nice buffer. You're done with that little help thing at the top middle of the screen that you guys should be seeing in my videos and whatnot. All of those should be all done, and that means you have a nice buffer going into PR1 and finishing that up once you're done with PR3. You want to maximize that. That's why I tell you guys to do it second, not first. Because if you do PR1 first, that means by the time you finish PR1 with all developer 30 ships, you go to PR3, you come back to look at your PR1 ships, you're going to have some prints left over. And you really don't want that. You're going to have probably like 50 prints left over. Those 50 prints could have been saved right there but if you did PR1 or second. The PR3 leftover prints, don't worry about those because there's probably going to be Face Simulation 5 or Face Simulation 5 for PR3 ships. You can toss those in there once PR4 comes out. That's not wasteful whatsoever. Where was I at right now? Nice buffer. Okay, assuming you finish PR3 before PR4, and if PR4 arrives and you still aren't done yet, you can choose to work on PR4 or stay to PR1, whichever you prefer, assuming you're done with PR3 within that time frame. I'm gonna assume that if you're a dedicated player and you're working hard and diligently on it, you should be able to finish PR3 before PR4 arrives. We have plenty of time, hopefully. Okay, because there's gonna be a catch-up for PR2 as well, because when PR4 comes out, most likely there's going to be a catch up for PR2, just like how they did PR1 when PR3 came out, PR1 had a catch-up mechanic. So there shouldn't be like that much like difference, or that it shouldn't be that devastating by the time you finish PR3 and then maybe PR1 and PR4 comes out like, oh no, what should I do? You're gonna get some kind of buffer. I assure you, they're gonna do something. They're not gonna keep the system the way it is forever because it's really bad. The Research Academy system is pretty bad, I won't lie. So we can do that. And then PR2 should be done last because it's the longest and hardest season to Developer 30 by far. And it also holds the best PR gear in the whole game, the legendary 457mm, the strongest gear in the game. So you're going to stay there for a very, very long time, regardless, because you want to have as much as the gun as possible, and it's going to take you a long time as well to finish that season. It's going to take you a lot of months. It's probably aiming, or like, if I were to continue working on PR2, I would probably finish in about 7.5 to 8 months. So the average player, probably 10, 11 months. You're going to be there for a long, long time. So that's why it should be done last. Because by the time you finish 3 and 1, PR4 is out, there might be a catch-up for you to give you a little help boost on farming those 2 UR prints, or 2 UR ships, and get BPs for them. So an example of what to do when PR4 comes out is, here's a chart or whatever. So PR3 should be done. PR1 should be done or finishing up depending on how fast you're going. PR2, work with the PR4 catch-up and buffers. So when that comes out, if you're a new player, that should be worked on with the buffers that you gain from the PR4. And then when PR4 comes out, it should be in progress if you choose to work on it by skipping PR1 if you're like a kind of new player. So skip PR1 and do PR4. Or if you choose to stay to PR1 and finish that up, you can work on that after. You can work on PR4 after you're done with PR1. But don't go to PR2 right after you're done with PR1. PR2 should always be last unless they make PR4 another 2 DR ship. Then I gotta change up my strategy. But as of right now, I'm gonna say PR4 has at least 1 DR ship. Work on that after PR1 and then go back to PR2 once you're done with PR4. Alright, as for PR3 missions, my order is as follows. For non-whales, meaning you're not going to spend a lot of cubes doing this. If you guys want to, you have a lot of spare cubes to do it, then the 1 hour cube should be the highest priority one, and you should do those. But if you're not a whale and you don't have spare cubes to do, you don't have spare cubes to use, is as follows. So, deface missions for Azuma and FDG are my highest priority because I'm personally not done with PR2 yet. And I'm sure a lot of people in this game are not done with PR2 yet either. If you're focusing on PR3 missions and you see Azuma or FDG, those should have your highest priority because you don't see those a lot. It takes a very, very long time to do those seasons. And there's a chance that you can get the rainbow gun as well. So put those as the highest priority when you do PR3 focus because you're not going to be back there for a very, very long time. And if you're going to go back to PR2 in the future, most likely you're going to go back to finish Azuma and FDG. Doing Azuma and FDG in the process as you farm for PR3 prints will save you a lot of time and resources in the long run. After that, you want to do Drake missions, deface missions. The shorter the better. So 30 minutes, 2.5 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours. The shorter the better because the more missions you do within that. So let's say you take the 8 hour one. You're only doing 1 mission in that 8 hour one. But if you do 4 missions, you do the 2.5 hour one, then a 1 hour, then 2 hour, and then another 1 hour. You're doing 4 missions within that time frame that it takes to do 1 8-hour mission. Yes, you may get more, but if you're doing 4 missions, the chances of you getting that rainbow 234 gun increases a lot. So you want to do as many missions as possible to try to improve your rates on getting that rainbow gun. After that, I do the G 1.5 hour one. This is a very, very common one. It's a short, simple one. It gives prints and it gives gear prints. Always good to do. It's the shortest one of the best valued one as well. Do those. After that, I do the 1 hour queue. 1 hour queue doesn't give me blueprints, but it gives me a chance for gear prints. And it gives me a chance to get more rainbow 234 CA gun, which is a very nice gun to have. I do that. And that's my order. And then once you're done with those tiers or whatever, and there's nothing else on the list, you pick the shortest one. You pick the next shortest one, whether that's D, G, or Q. Pick the next shortest one. And E is also okay in this scenario because E is basically a Q mission, except E missions, the shortest ones are 2 hours, whereas Q, the shortest one is 1 hour. But if you see E, go ahead and take E as well. It's not that bad. And the last tier should be B and C because these are absolute trash. I think T is okay, somewhat. It's just kind of long. But B and C are like, I'm not a fan. So try to avoid taking these as possible. And extra note, if you guys see 30-minute QULs and HULs, I personally think the QUL is great because it gives you a lot of chances to roll for a the Rainbow 234 gun print. So do those. The HUL 30 minutes, kinda indifferent about it because you're paying 8,000 coins and 3 cubes for a chance to get Drake prints. I'm not a fan of this. If you guys want to do it, go ahead. I'm personally not a fan of paying 8,000 coins and 3 cubes for an RNG chance to get Drake prints. I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. So if you guys want to do it, go ahead. I personally don't. I advise you avoid taking mains, Odin, Champagne, and Cheshire prints or face missions as possible. Unless you truly dislike those characters, go ahead and do them. I personally, from the beginning of time of PR2, I never took any face missions that wasn't Azuma or FDG unless I had to. And you guys see my print progression. It is pretty good for a player that doesn't spend on PR missions. I stick to a strict strategy. I follow the strategy, and I did pretty good. I didn't finish in the 6.5 months before PR3 came out, but I'm in good pace. And as of right now, I'm only missing like 140 more prints to finish out PR2. I think I did pretty good. I don't have that much leftover prints for SSR ships. I never focused on FDG or Georgia, Kitakazi, Seattle. I never focused on any of those ships. And guess what? I developer 30'd them just fine. Just like how I told you guys my strategy at the beginning of PR2 when I said I'm going to focus heavily on face missions for Azuma and FDG. Same applies here. I'm not going to do missions that had Cheshire, Odin, mains, and Champagne as face missions. It's not worth it. Yes, you're guaranteed prints for them, but it doesn't matter because the time you're spending trying to get more Drake prints, and as a collateral, you're going to get more prints for the SSRs as well. And by the time you finish your Developer 30 Drake, you're going to finish your Developer 30 on those SSR ships. That's why I don't recommend you do those missions unless you just like those ships for whatever reason. If you like the ships, go ahead and do that and take those face missions. So again, it's the same as the PR2 video I made about 7 months ago. Let me take my mission real quick. I'll grab this. So I'll go ahead and link that into the description if you guys want. Drake has the highest priority because DR prints are the highest rarity one. I think I said this before. So basically, it's the same strategy as I had for PR2. The only difference is that I advise not to do cube missions because if you do cube missions, it's one of these 3 things, or it's these 3 things in general. By doing cube missions, there's only 1 DR ship this season, and it's Drake. There's no 2, so there's no Azuma and FDG this time around, meaning the amount of prints needed for the highest and the rarest tier for prints, the UR prints, it cuts in half, meaning it used to be 1,026 for the UR ships, now it's 513. It's half of that. That means you don't have to spend as much time finishing this season compared to PR2. And also, since EN is caught up with JP basically, we shouldn't be rushed with another 7 to 8 month gap between PR3 and PR4, hopefully. It should be at least a year minimum. That means it's an additional 4 to 5 months compared to what we had for previous seasons. That's a lot of time right there. That's at least a 30 to 40% more time duration to finish up this season. For PR1, it took me about 5 months without DR ships. PR2 would have taken me like 7 to 8 months. And this season, I'm expected to finish probably in 5 to 6 months, depending on how good my RNG is and depending on how gacha events screw me over. maybe 5 to 6 months is what I'm expecting. So it shouldn't. You have a lot of time. Don't rush yourself. There's no need for you to spam cube missions unless you just really want to finish it for whatever reason, or EP and flex or something. If you want to do that, go ahead and just do cube missions. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Also, by doing cube missions, you are not receiving gear prints, guys. H missions don't have gear prints. The cube mission does not yield any of those prints, and PR3 holds some of the best PR gear in this season. The gold fire control radar, the anti-air, which is extremely good, the rainbow 234 gun, which everyone should want because shiny things, and it's also pretty good as well from what I've seen. Also, the new BB-AP gun looks pretty good as well. There's a lot of good gear in this PR season, so there's no reason for you guys to just abuse H missions over and over again, because a lot of this PR gear is very good. You want to try to get as much of those prints as possible and craft those really nice gear. So that's it for you guys. I rambled a lot for this video. It's literally the same as my PR2 video, so if you guys don't understand in this video, go ahead and watch my PR2 video. It's more or less the same. I just told you guys the route that I would personally do for this, for new players, old players, current players, and that is basically PR3, PR2, or PR3, PR1, PR2 in that order for all developer 30 ships. And also for missions, basically the same as PR2, but don't take H missions this time around because I don't think it's worth it. You're speeding up a season that shouldn't take too long, and you're missing out on gear prints in the process. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. This is the strategy I have that I'm using as of right now for the game. It's not too terrible, and this is why you guys see my split for Drake and my other prints so split like crazy right now, because I'm following this specific strategy. This specific strategy is what I'm doing for what I did for PR2, and I assure you guys that my progress for PR2 prints were pretty damn good. So I advise people follow my strategy. It's pretty good. It's not the best for whales, because I know whales, they just spam 1 hour cube missions. If you're a whale, don't listen to my advice. Just go ahead and spam your cubes for whatever reason. Go ahead and do that. Your gameplay, your strategy is not my strategy, but you guys can do whatever you guys want. But I'm just trying to help out the people out there that are trying to get all these prints done, trying to get all these developer 30 ships, and to maximize how much resources they spend without losing too much in the process. So anyways, that's the end of this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you guys think. Any ways to improve your strategies, let me know them all. I'll see you guys in the next video, guys. Have fun.